Sharing.
We've got it recorded. Welcome everyone who's joining the room today. While we kind of wait for everybody else to get in here, I'll give a quick introduction of who's doing the presentation today. For those of you that don't know, this is Federico. Hi.
Hey.
Federico is the co-founder of Argest Rentals, who manages my properties in Texas. Federico and I have been working together for, I guess, going on 2 years now. I think we transferred all of our properties over to you in like June of 2020.
Yeah.
And when we transferred them to him, we had a really bad management company who was managing them, and I didn't know what a good management company from a bad management company was. But I think we transferred them over at the end of June, 1st of July, if I remember. But in June, I think one of my properties, my top performer, had made like $4,000, let's say $4,500 for the entire month. And then the month that Federico and Steven started managing it, it went from $4,500 a month to over $7,000 that was brought in just 1 month, which obviously was a great sign for me. Well, bad sign knowing that I had missed out on all of that money previous to not hiring them, and then a great sign that we had made a good move moving them into your care versus someone else's care. So over the last 2 years, we have had several questions in pricing and management, so on and so forth. And Federico is the person that I turn to every single time for any sort of management question, because he's involved in managing way more properties than I am. And so his skills are even sharper than mine or Emily's. And so we use him as our secret weapon. So one, thank you, Federico, for all of that.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then one fun thing about Federico is when we first hired him, he was living in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and got his visa. Him and his wife got their visas to come and live and work in the States. And so you guys moved here, what, 4 or 5 months ago?
November.
Yeah, so you are recent Texans, I suppose,
Yeah.
because they live in DFW. So I actually got to meet Federico in person for the first time in February of this year. But now he's stateside, which makes the management even better. So, but for those of you who are listening to this, if you are considering managing out of state, know that Federico did it successfully with like 40 properties out of the country. So if that tells you anything about its possibility, here we are with living proof.
Thank you, Sarah. Should we get started? I appreciate that introduction. And yeah, I'm very excited to share a little bit about how we do things in Argest and how we apply this tool, Pricelabs, that is amazing, into our properties and properties that we manage for other people. So I'm gonna start sharing my screen, if that's okay. Do you think I should get started?
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Let me know if you can hear me and see me just fine.
Yes, we can. At least I can see you great.
Awesome. Okay, so Pricelabs Webinar. Let's see what I have here. All right, so what is the purpose of this class, of this webinar, is to equip all of you with the knowledge and skills necessary to optimize your pricing strategies using Pricelabs dynamic pricing tools. So basically, start to professionalize your properties pricing strategy if you have nothing yet, which is probably one of the hardest things when you get started with a property and you're in the final steps to launch. How do I price my property, right? So what are the objectives? The idea is that at the end of today, you're going to be able to apply fundamental revenue management principles to enhance the profitability of your short-term rental properties. That you can set up a Pricelabs dynamic pricing sets and customizations to align with your property specific needs and market conditions, because no property is similar to other one. You're gonna be able to utilize Pricelabs market dashboards, which is a feature inside Pricelabs, and create your own comps and settings to make your best informed decisions. And the idea, finally, is that you will be able to create curated comp sets, and concepts is basically a list of properties that you want to be compared to or use as comparison to price. creating different market segments and different competition segments, which are things that we're going to be discussing today. What are your segments, and the idea to start having a plan for that. So the agenda, we're going to do an introduction to revenue management and dynamic pricing, because we cannot just talk about pricing without an introduction to revenue management, in my opinion. We're going to see how to connect your account and set up a listing from scratch. We're going to talk about how to interpret then a market dashboard, how to create a comp set, how to read the neighborhood data section of Pricelabs. And finally, we're going to talk a little bit about the mindset you got to have when you're planning your pricing and questions and answers. So far, so good. Yeah. A little bit about myself. As I was saying, I'm from Buenos Aires, Argentina. That's where my accent is. So if you have any questions, understanding anything, if you need me to go over anything, sorry, just let me know. I can go back. I'm happy to do it. I mean, I've been working on my accent and my English for many years, but still I understand if there's something that doesn't make sense when I say it. But yeah, I have 15 years in the travel and hospitality industry, which is all my professional career since I'm 18. I'm 32 now. I am currently managing over 50 properties across 5 states, and I'm very passionate about systems, about creating procedures and optimizing operations. So that's a little bit of what I want to share with you today. And as I was saying before, we're going to try to answer the ancient mystery of what do I price my property? Again, I know it's very challenging right at the beginning. You did all your due diligences on setting up your property, your amenities, your professional pictures. You find a great cleaning crew. You have everything, but okay, what price do I put? It's very confusing. And you want to do the right thing, because at the end of the day, that's going to be the outcome of your property. So that's what we're gonna try to answer today. Do you have any questions so far in the chat? I like to check if we were going good. Doing fine?
Yeah, I think we're good so far.
Awesome. So a little introduction to revenue management and dynamic pricing before we jump into Pricelabs. And I like to think that when you're doing short-term rentals, you are handling like similar to a hotel or any accommodation business at a larger or smaller scale, depending on your portfolio, right? I have 50 properties. For me, it's like handling a hotel that is spread across the United States, which can make it more challenging. But then if you have only one property to start, you have a small operation, but the concepts of the business are the same. You need to have operations set up, you need to have cleaning, you have to have customer service, and you have to have revenue management. And something I learned in my time in the travel industry very, very early is we're handling with a product that is highly perishable with an inventory that is fixed. And that makes it a little bit challenging. Why? Think about this. How many times can you sell the 4th of July of 2023 on your property? Just once. And you want to sell it to the right customer at the right price, right? Can you sell yesterday? I had 10 years in the airline industry, and the first thing they told me is once the flight takes off, all those seats are empty, are gone. So for you, and in this industry, any night that has been sold is gone. So the goal of revenue management, the aim is to sell the right product at the right customer at the right price at the right time. So it's not just price and revenue management. And what you're going to be doing is taking into consideration segmentation, forecasting, budgeting. And those are 3 of the key areas that you're going to find in revenue management. And I'm going to mention a little bit of those 3 areas. And number 1 is segmentation, all right? So before we jump into Pricelabs, I want you to start thinking, okay, what is my market segment? Which is dividing basically your marketplace in parts that you can define and that you can take action on them. And I know this sounds fancy, like, yeah, my market segment, but you know, and you can think about your who's your guest avatar, what are your distribution channels, or where are your people booking, what are the travel trends and preferences. At the end of the day, this is a simple question. You need to ask yourself, who are the people booking my place and why? Because this is going to help you create a pricing strategy. Forecasting. It's very hard to guess what's going to happen in the future, but we have different tools to try to forecast and understand how is our market usually booking far in advance to price accordingly and budget accordingly, right? So you want to know what is your low and high season, how far in advance you expect to be booked, which is called booking window. We're going to talk about a lot of terminology today, and I will try to explain, and you're welcome to ask me if any term or word is new to you. What are the special events and attractions this year at your location? If you live in a city that this year is having the Super Bowl, is having the World Cup, because I like soccer, anything special going on in your city, you want to forecast for that and set up your prices in advance. There's nothing worse than getting a booking and saying, hey, I come for this big thing you didn't know. And it's like, oh crap, I should have raised the prices, right? And that's what we're trying to avoid here with our revenue management strategy. And at the end of the day, your pricing is the tool to achieve your desired results based on your market segment study that you did and the forecast that you created and you plan. And on your pricing, it's not just putting a price itself, but also you want to think, okay, how do I price the different days of the week? How do I price compared to my competition? What are the minimum length of stay that I'm going to allow in my property? Do I price higher or lower far out in 3, 5, 6 months? So this is a little bit on an overview what your revenue management plan and strategy should look like. And the idea is that you price with a purpose, not just throw random prices and numbers and see what happens. There are even pricing strategies that many of you, if you're already operating, you may be doing, and even not knowing that they're pricing strategies, but it's just something that you came up with because it was making sense for your property. For example, if you already listed a property in Airbnb, you realize, or VRBO, they tell you, hey, you can put a 20% down or discount on the first 3 stays. And that's called penetration pricing because you're trying to penetrate the market by putting a lower price, getting some bookings, getting some reviews, and then position yourself with the competition. We have length of stay pricing, which is basically the longer you stay, the cheaper it gets. You have skimming prices, which I know, Sarah, you do this in your properties. You set up higher prices because you target to a premium market segment. Or we have last man standing, for example, another type of pricing strategy, which is keeping your prices higher for specific dates or situations, trying to get the highest paying people that are booking last minute. And I'm going to give you an example of that. I have a lot of properties in suburban areas, larger houses, where we get a lot of insurance relocations. Those are last minute because you don't plan ahead for a problem in your house, like pipes or a fire, right? So for us, pricing higher, knowing that we can get a last minute booking at a higher rate because I need to relocate an entire family, it has a higher risk, but a higher reward. So we just landed a booking today that is a place we rent for $2,000. I'm paying $5,000 because they're relocating a family for insurance. Now, the dynamic pricing, which is what we're going to be focusing today, is a revenue management strategy then that is adjusting your prices based on real-time data. Based on what factors? Your demand and supply, seasonality, your competition pricing, special events, and basically we're adjusting based on how things are moving around us. And what is the goal? Again, to maximize the revenue and occupancy, but setting the optimal price for a property at a given time, right? So it's like finding that sweet spot where people are going to book, paying the best prices we can get. So why do we like Pricelabs? Why do we choose to work with Pricelabs? Well, they have a data-driven approach where they were pioneers in technology. I love that the founder comes from revenue management in the airline industry. He was working at United. I come from the airline industry, so I love that. But they're pulling data not only from Airbnb and VRBO, but they are pulling data from property management systems, from hotels, from other travel agencies, online travel agencies. So they're getting data from many, many places, not just from 1 or 2 channels. They integrate with many platforms, and you can customize your sets and your prices. And they have additional tools that we're going to cover a little bit today, like the market dashboards, which is like an RDNA type of analysis for your market. And your portfolio analysis is going to tell you how you're performing. So basically, it's gonna give you like data on how you've been performing so far. So this is what is good about Pricelabs. There are other tools out there. We're not sponsored by Pricelabs, I believe, at least not myself, but they're really good. So we're gonna jump now to connect your account and set up listings with recommendations. So this is gonna be the first thing we're gonna do. And there are a few things I want you to keep in mind before we connect Pricelabs. Pricelabs is gonna be pushing your prices to your PMS, your property management system, or channel manager if you use one. And they're gonna be distributing to your online travel agencies. So basically, I use Hospitable. So Pricelabs is sending the prices to Hospitable, and Hospitable is going to distribute to Airbnb, VRBO, and my different channels. If you're not using a PMS, a property management system, or channel manager, you're going to have to connect Airbnb and VRBO, your accounts, whatever you use. But you need to be extremely careful about something. Dynamic pricing tools like Pricelabs are not going to override your OTA length of stay discounts, last minute discounts, or early bird discounts. So sometimes you can get with a double discount if you're not setting up your prices correctly, and that's something you don't want to do. So it's very important, once you set up your prices on Pricelabs, you want to see how it's reflecting on Airbnb, and you want to make sure that it's the price that you're actually expecting to see and not something lower or higher. And they have a knowledge base that is amazing on their platform, which is like learn how to do things inside of Pricelabs. So to get started, Pricelabs, they have a 30-day trial period with no credit card down. This is really good. If you have one property, the prices start at $20, and it's gonna go. They're gonna offer discounts if you connect more properties, right? So for example, I have 50 properties, and I pay. I have like more than a 50% discount. I think we have someone with the mic open.
Yeah, I might be able to mute him. I'll try that.
All right. Okay, so let's say you are connected to Pricelabs already. Basically, this is what you're gonna find right ahead once you connect. You set up your account. You're gonna find your pricing dashboard. If you pay attention, you have three options at the top: dynamic pricing, portfolio analysis, and market dashboards. We're gonna be working now with dynamic pricing on your pricing dashboard. And this first step will be for you to connect your accounts. So here you have a button here for add and reconnect listings, and you can connect your channel manager or Airbnb, VRBO, whatever you use. So if it's Airbnb, for example, you have to have you gotta follow a few steps here that they have a video, so they're gonna explain you how to do it. If you have channel manager like me that I have Hospitable, I can connect the account, and then I can reconnect or refresh the account whenever I have new listings. So I can come here, it's already my account saved. So if I list a new property, I can reconnect the account, and in a few minutes, I'm gonna have the new listing here. Once you have your listing already connected to Pricelabs, this is not gonna do nothing until you start giving some input on how you want the system to price your property, and once you sync your prices, okay? Of course, I did this many times today. It was working quickly, and now it's going slow.
And how it goes.
Yeah. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to show you a few things, right? Let's say we have only. I'm going to pull up some properties that I have here. This Jennings. Sorry, it's a different building for the other Jennings, just in case. Some properties we used to operate. But I'm going to show you. I'm going to work today with this property here, Jennings 202 in Fort Worth. And the first thing you're gonna see, the name of the property. You can click here to review prices, which is where we're gonna go in a second. It's gonna give you some tags. If this is for customizations that you're gonna do in the future, if you have multiple properties, if you have like one specific building or a group of properties in a city. But then we have minimum price, base price, max price. We're gonna talk about that in a minute. And then we're gonna have our occupancy in the market compared to the occupancy around us. So the market occupancy and our occupancy. This is called listing health, and it's a good guide for you to understand how you're doing based on your pricing strategy. Why do I mean based on your pricing strategy and not based on the market? Because really, if you are pricing to be booked 100% in the next 60 days, then this means that your pricing is correct. But then if you're using a last man standing type of pricing strategy, you want to see that you want to be below market average, right? So this is not a good or bad, but it's an indication on how you're doing based on your pricing strategy. This property, I want to be booked like this, and I can see that in the next 3, 10, and 60 days, I'm booked at a 100% and 80% compared to the market. They're very, very below my property. Here's gonna tell you when was the last time that your prices were synchronized to Airbnb, and then if you have the prices now being synced or not, which I turn it off for this webinar. Can you change this? Can you see different time frames? Yeah, you can click here on the 3 dots and say, well, you know what, actually show me 7 days, 30 days, and 90 days. And then it's gonna show me the listing health for those time frames. Again, there's no right or wrong. You want to see what's useful for you. You can take note of this based on the type of market you're in. If you're in that city market, probably you're going to have a lot of last minute bookings. While if you're in a vacation rental market, you probably want to see more of a far out destination. Same if you have a small apartment or a large house, it's going to be different. All right, so we already understand what we're seeing in the pricing dashboard screen as soon as we pull it up and we see our property showing up there. Now we're gonna go to review prices, and this is where it gets really interesting for me. Here is where we're gonna start just customizing our prices and giving input to Pricelabs so they can start creating or drafting the prices. Let me make sure I'm not missing something from here. Yeah. So I'm going to mention a little bit of terminology so you understand what we're going to be talking about. Number one, we have the base price. This is the first thing that we need to give Pricelabs to at least do something. So if we give Pricelabs a base price, it's going to start moving. And that's the foundational starting rate for a property before any adjustments. If this is a dynamic pricing tool that adjusts the prices based on multiple factors, it has to have a starting point. And the base price is that starting point. So you tell the system, start at $100, and then based on occupancy, holidays, demand, whatever it is, it's going to start going up and down. Minimum stay is going to be the shortest booking duration a guest must reserve. So you probably heard, yeah, you need to put 2 days minimum on your weekends or something like that. So we're going to talk about that today, but that's basically what is the shortest time someone can book your property. Orphan day is how it's called in Pricelabs, and is a gap on your calendar. Basically, the days are unbooked between 2 reservations. Adjacency is any proximity to bookings. That is basically what you have in those orphan days. So basically, adjacency is if you have a booking starting today, finishing today. All right, your adjacency starts today until the next booking. And it's very important. Maybe it doesn't make a lot of sense the way I put it right now, but we're going to talk about it, why it's so important on pricing strategies. And pacing is how far in advance a date is booked, normally compared to the previous years. Your pace, basically, you want to think, okay, normally I get booked 3 months in advance for the summer, and you want to compare to how you did last year, and am I getting booked 3 months in advance for the summer or not? And that's your pacing, and you may need to do adjustments to your price based on your pacing. With that terminology, we're going to start applying it to our pricing customization, which is, again, this is the screen we're seeing now on Pricelabs that we're going to be working. And I made this meme for you because I know that if you ever try to put a base price somewhere without any help, it's like, how do I calculate this? You try to do numbers. And I hear all crazy type of theories, like you need to take your expenses and multiply that and then divide it by the weekends, and that's going to cover your expenses, and then you need to make the money on the weekdays. There are a lot of theories. At the end of the day, is what the market dictates, and Pricelabs is going to help you calculate that number, which is your base price that you're going to be adjusting in the future. So if I go back here to Pricelabs, and actually if I delete what I have here and refresh, So we start like very in the scratch. Pricelabs is gonna already suggest you or recommend you a base price. Based on what? Based on the market or the performance of the property. If this is a property that already been in the market, I'm getting some rentals, right? So you can see here they tell me we calculated a base price of $111 based on your current hospitable price and occupancy. You can change it in the above text box. But then you have this option here that is help me choose a base price. And if I click here, whatever you see this yellow light bulb is that Pricelabs is having a recommendation setting that is automated with probably AI or something like that. But basically here, if you see my recommendations, you have two options. I can use the my recommendation based on my performance. And it's telling me I'm going to be in the 59 percentile. So basically, I'm going to be above the 59% of the properties in the market based on my occupancy and how I'm performing relative to the market. And this recommendation was created on the 18th of April. And every 7 to 10 days, Pricelabs is going to update this. So every 7 to 10 days, you can come back, click on help me choose a base price. And Pricelabs is going to tell you based on what's going on around you, based on how you're performing, you can put this new recommended price. Or you can say, you know what, I'm getting started, just tell me what's the market doing. But here you got to select based on what's around you. And you need to be honest with you and saying, what type of property do I have? Do I have a mid-scale, economy, upscale property? And who do I want to be compared to? A room, a studio, a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom, or both. So basically, here you do your selection, and it's going to recommend you a price. I'm being a little bit more conservative here. I'm going to go with the recommended price, confirm, and that's it. So now I have my base price. And what Pricelabs is going to start doing now is going to go on each calendar date. I have some bookings now, so I'm going to move to June. And it's going to tell me here, for example, if I say, how did you come up to $108 a night for the night on June 13 if my base price is $111? And if I put my mouse here and I hover, it's going to tell me, yeah, because there's normal demand, the neighborhood occupancy right now is 12%. We take the $111 and we add a 6% because of seasonality, and we take it to 118. Is this something you all can see on my screen? I know it's a little bit small. Then we're gonna deduct. Sorry, you can see it?
Yeah, you're good.
Awesome, thank you. So we're gonna deduct 7% because of the demand by that date. And the pacing, remember I talked about the pacing as basically telling you, okay, if we're in April 24 today and we're looking at the date June 13, it's booked below what it used to be booked by then last year. So we're gonna lower at 3%. So that gets us to $106. But because we're far out and we know that this market usually gets booked more of last minute, we're gonna raise it at 2%. And that's how it came up to $108. It has some thresholds like a minimum safety price and maximum, but at the end of the day, you care about how you get to this price. If you want to put a minimum price, you want to say, you know what, I don't want Pricelabs, never pricing anything below, I don't know, $85, you can do it. If you want to say never take it above $200, you can do it. That depends on your market, your situation. Again, this is your decision. For some properties like this, I don't use it because I know that if Pricelabs is taking my price really, really low, there must be something going on. And because I keep an eye on this daily, I want to know why it's taking my prices very low. But if you don't want to come there daily and you want to be safe, you can say, I don't want anyone to book any night below $80. What else do we have here? So this is the basic, again, this is the basic information you need to give Pricelabs to start working. Now it can start pushing prices. I just need to do save and refresh, sync now, and I have to have this toggle on, so start pushing the prices. Again, I don't want to mess up my actual prices, so I'm not gonna do it now. Other things you're gonna have here available before I jump into the specific customizations, you're gonna have overrides. For example, if there's a date that you say, you know what, this is too low or too high, you can come here, click on the date, or a range of dates actually. So you can say from the 21st to the 23rd, and you can adjust the price yourself by saying, I want the price to be exactly $150 here. Or you can tell here, Pricelabs, actually on the price you're recommending, add another 10%. Or you just want to change the minimum price and say, hey, you know what, for these prices, for this date, don't go below 110. You can also change the minimum stay here, which we're gonna see how to customize, and say, hey, for these dates, make sure people don't book lower than 3 days. They can't stay lower than 3 days for these days. You can put some notes to remember why you put the override. And once you add the override, it's gonna look like this on your calendar. So you can see here I put an override to price it at $95. I can remove it, save and refresh. So again, every time you do a change, you want to save and refresh. And let's see what's going to happen. It's going to change the price. Now it's going to go back to 112 instead of 95, which is the price that I manually override. Over here, you have some options. So you can add to see notes, which is this option here. You can highlight the dates with overrides, which is what I had before. But something that's pretty cool that it doesn't come by default is you can see the full year calendar that's going to be shown here. And it's going to tell you your occupancy on the month. So for June, I have a 66% vacancy actually. And July, August, I'm 100% open. And I can see the colors because the colors is coding like how's the demand for those dates. All right, I'm going to drink water. And Sarah, do we have any questions? Is there anything that I should clarify up to this point?
Let me take a look here. Well, I have one question. Is there, how do you decide? Well, one, somebody asked, what do green and blue mean on the calendars?
The colors are going to tell you the demand of the market, and here you actually you're gonna find below the calendar what they mean. And the darker blue is going to be high demand, and the lighter green is going to be lower demand. Gray is unavailable.
Okay.
And then you're going to have your date here, and something I didn't mention. The number with the half moon here is going to be your minimum stay.
And then it doesn't tell you why there's a high demand, correct? Like, you know, if something's blue or dark blue, does it tell you what's, like, if they know what's causing the demand, or it's just basing it off of your competition? I've
seen in the past, I don't know if they keep doing this, but in the past they used to put, if there's a holiday, they'll put it, but then no. For example, here I can see in June 30th that we have a 52% increase based on the month. But I don't know why it doesn't say it.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's what I figured. And then one more question is there a tool that suggests minimum night stays?
Yes, and we're gonna see that in a second. It's something I also love about Pricelabs because that's something that it does.
And then it says, have you ever used their minimum stay suggestions?
I have, yeah, I have, and it worked pretty well in some properties. So I like to use it, or at least have an idea on what are the suggestions, because then you need to consider your tolerance to risk. Like, would you take a 1-day stay on a weekend in your property? Some properties I do, some properties I don't. But it may suggest you, because here the decisions are based on pricing data, is not taking into consideration those type of things, like, you know, what normally people booking here for one night may try to throw a party, which is not the rule for every property and every area, but you know, there are some places where it happens.
Okay, that makes sense.
All right. So I'm gonna jump, if that's okay, to customizations, and I can keep answering questions in a little while. Your customizations here, if you click edit, the first thing you're gonna have is actually the stay restrictions, the minimum stays. And you can see you have the light bulb as well, and you have the recommendations. So if I enable this, I'm gonna first explain what they mean each section, and then I'm gonna show you how the recommendations work. But here, you're gonna have to set a default minimum stay, which is basically the starting point. It's like your base rate, right? So you set a starting point that you say, you know what, for my market and my property, I want to set a 1-day weekday, 2-day weekend. If you're in a vacation rental market where, you know, the people are usually booking for weekly stays and that's what you want to have, or because of your operations, you can say I always want to have 7 days minimum stay. And you can adjust this again based on your market segment and your projections that you decided at the beginning of starting to set up your pricing strategy. But now, this is very basic because again, it's like, yeah, 7 days, I want people to book for 7 days. But what happens if I have a booking checking out on a Sunday and the next booking arriving on a Thursday? You're gonna have 5 days, right? Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You're gonna have 4 days vacant in the middle. And what is gonna happen is that Airbnb, VRBO are gonna block those days from being booked because it doesn't meet your 7-day minimum stay. So you can say, you know what? I'm gonna add a rule that I'm gonna let the orphan nights, these gaps between the stays, to be booked. And you can decide for any gap between 1 and 4 nights, for example, I want to let people book the length of the gap. Or you can say, I don't want to allow any 1-night stay. So any gap that is 2 to 4 nights, I want to let people book that length of gap. And length of gap is exactly the days that are available. So when people, if it's 4 nights, they have to book the 4 nights, which could be a little bit challenging to find someone who wants to actually book the exact 4 nights, but you may find it. And you can say, you know what? I'm going to let them book the length of gap minus 1 night. So that means if it's a 4-day gap, they can book 3 nights from those 4 nights, and that's fine. Or you can set up a specific length for the weekdays and the weekends. And you can say, yeah, if the gap is between 2 and 4 nights, you can book 2 nights, and that works. Is this making sense so far? I know it's a little bit, it's a lot of details, but I hope it's making sense so far. So again, you set up a minimum price, and then you say, well, if I have 2 stays and a gap in the middle, I can lower my minimum stay requirement with this option. Now, here's another thing. You may say, you know what? Yeah, I want people to book for 7 days, but I understand that 7 days is people booking my market segment that books far in advance, families from a large property that are planning vacations. Do you think that people usually plan a weekly stay last minute? Not too many. So you can say, I'm going to be more flexible, and I'm going to add 2 rules. I'm going to say that within a week of today, I'll let people book for 2 days on weekdays and 3 days on weekends. And I can say that also within a month, because people usually within the next 30 days don't book for a week, I can put a minimum stay of 4 and 5, for example, or 3 and 4 weekdays and weekends. So that way you start to customize your pricing strategy. And then another thing, you may say, you know what, the people who book for a week and my location, usually they book within 3 months. So I already have covered my last minute. I have covered what's after 30 days. But then you say, I don't want anyone to book for lower than, let's say, 2 weeks if they're booking in the next 6 months, after the next 6 months. So you can put here, okay, we're gonna put a minimum stay of 14 nights beyond 180 days, right? So you're pushing, so you're saying, because if someone is booking more than 6 months in advance, I know they're probably getting a good deal. Otherwise, my market doesn't book that far in advance. Again, those are questions you need to answer based on analyzing your market. But once you set this up, I can set my changes, and this is gonna automatically update all of my minimum stay. I want to show you how it looks in the calendar for a moment.
Federico, I have a question while floating. With the Orphan Day customizations where you put, 2 nights for the weekdays or weekends between 2 and 4 nights, if you've got a requirement of like a 7-day booking, right? And you've got that customization set for the orphan gaps between 2 and 4 nights. Does it make sense to have the gap be between 2 and 6 nights? Because in theory, if it's 7 nights, then like it would just like resort back to the original one of requiring them to book those 7 nights. Or like, does it always make sense to like have it 1 night less than whatever your requirement is?
No, that actually makes a lot of sense here. You want to put it at 6 nights. in that case. And in the customization, it's gonna show it. It was an example, but I was missing that part. That's very important because at the end of the day, yeah, if you have a 5-day gap, it's gonna be blocked. What you can do, you can have different rules for different lengths.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I think I have that set wrong on my listing. So when you were going through it, I was like, wait, I think that's wrong on mine. So yeah. Thank you.
No problem. And just to show you here, based on the customizations that we set up here, that again, I put like last minute within 7 days is gonna be 2 to 3, within 30 days 3 to 4, then 7. We have some gaps, and then after 180 days it's gonna be 14 days. You can see here that the nights, the minimum stay is updated, and if I move forward, you're gonna see how it changed now to 7. And if I move to a couple of months, it's gonna go to 14. All right. Now, if I click here on certain suggestions available, you want to tell, okay, what type of bookings do you want to get? Do you want to get short-term or mid-term bookings? And whenever you have this little circle, blue circle, you can click here and it's going to give you more information. Sometimes you can even click and it's going to take you to the knowledge base. But if I click here, go, it's going to set up, again, all the customization for me that I can apply. And it's telling you, okay, your default should be 4 days for your market and the type of bookings you get. The orphan night should be 1 to 3. That what you were mentioning a moment ago, right? Because 4 days you can still book, but if it's below 1 to 3, you want those to be allowed to be booked. Last minute, so within 2 nights you want to allow 1 night. Within 6 nights you want to allow 2 nights minimum. Within 29 nights you want to allow a 3-night minimum. And beyond 90 days, you keep it at 4. I can put apply and customize, and here it is all set up for you. Again, if you say, you know what, I don't want anyone to book 1 night, never, you can say, okay, yeah, I'm going to remove this or change it, whatever you want. I'm not going to get into the more advanced options. It's just getting too picky, and we can leave that for a more advanced webinar in the future. But so far, are we good with the minimum stay? What do you think? Has this clarified the minimum stay?
Yes, absolutely. I'm so glad we did this because I'm a lesson personally.
Awesome. I know we started 45 minutes ago. We have 15 minutes. We may need a little bit more time if that's okay with you. But I want to make sure we have everything clear on the customizations to jump to market dashboards and neighborhood data. But now that we have the minimum stay, we can move to general here. And this is also more customization. This is up to you. Is, you know, getting into nitty gritty, like saying, okay, for example, do you want to offer last minute prices discounts? And the default from Pricelabs is to actually gradually lower at 30% over the next 15 days. Why do I like to do this? I like to do this because Airbnb is going to see that I'm updating and changing my prices constantly, especially in the last few days. Now, you can say, you know what, actually, my last minute bookings, I don't like last minute bookings. I don't like dealing with them. Again, this is up to your market segment, up to your research. You can say, yeah, I want to put a fixed price of $150 within 10 days of today. Or you can do a flat discount. So the next 10 days, just lower it 10%. Or you can say increase, put a premium. Because last minute I wanted to pay more. Why? Maybe because maybe you are in a market that is always booked out last minute, because you may be in a corporate destination where normally people booking last minute is coming for business and they're paying more. So no market is the same, no property is the same. So that's why you have the option to customize up or down, increase or decrease, right? Again, the gradual is gonna do like paste the discount, or should say, yeah, I don't wanna adjust anything, just turn it off. Actually, by default, it's gonna do a 30%. You can turn it off by putting don't adjust any last minute, just keep it as it is. Then with the orphan days, if you're gonna actually allow people to book those gaps in the middle of your minimum stay, do you want people to pay on a specific rate, which is your fixed rate? Do you want people to pay a percentage up or down, premium or discount? Some people may say, you know what, if they're actually booking my gaps, it's gonna be a shorter stay that I'm allowed, which is an exception. My property is a premium. They're getting a great deal by booking for 3 nights, so they had to pay higher. Or you may say, actually, for me, it's more challenging to book those gaps of 3 days. I'm going to offer a discount for anyone booking those gaps of 3 days. Again, this can be fixed or a percentage or just no adjustment at all. You can also adjust the recommendations you get by the day of the week. You may start to know your market and say, hey, you know what? I really struggle to book my Tuesdays, even though the Pricelabs is already adjusting based on the demand. My property on Tuesdays was really bad. I can put a minus 15% discount. And at the same time, you may say, my Thursdays do very well, so I can add a 10%. Again, this is getting very specific, but over the time, you may pick up this data and say, hey, I want to make these changes. You can also make some profile adjustments. So Pricelabs is going to do recommendations based on your occupancy. And you may say, I want to be very aggressive on my occupancy, or I want my far out to be priced very high. So you can see here, you're going to have different profiles on your occupants based on your occupancy. And I'm going to show you one, for example, the aggressive. If you click on edit profile, and again, remember when it says learn more, it's going to take you to their knowledge base. So actually you can read here and understand what you're doing. But if you look at this profile, it's telling you if your occupancy within today and the next 15 days is below 10%, we're going to lower it 30%. And then as the days go by, we're going to just reduce the discount to 20-15. Now, if your occupancy is higher, if you go up, right, the discount is going to be lower. And actually, if your occupancy is high in the next 16 to 60 days, we're actually going to bump the prices. So this is how the profiles are working. If you say, you know what's about the far out profile, far out premium. Basically, what it's telling you that we're going to increase 90 to 180 days. We're going to increase 60% up the prices if your occupancy is not 100%, and after that 120% up. So these are the things that you have, the options that you can customize in general. Seasonal minimum prices. You can also create specific seasonalities for your market. You can click here and make some profiles and say, hey, you know what? I know I have a specific season in my market where people are coming for skiing, they're coming for hunting specific type of game, a specific type of the year, vacations, spring break. Or you're going to learn or you're going to forecast what are the specific seasonalities, not only summer, right? Not only summer and winter, which is something you can do, but actually specific times of the year where you do see an increase on your rates. And you can say, again, let's see, it's season 4 is key. And you can select the months. You can say, I don't know, here it will be, I don't know, November to November 1st until February 10th, let's say. Sure, the data you're getting, the previous date ranges. Okay, let's put December. And you put a minimum price here or a base price. So basically, you're going to change your base numbers for that specific time of the year. Or you can change it by percentages. So that's going to be up to what you want to do. But again, you can create specific seasonalities. Not only has to be summer and winter, but specific times of the year. Minimum weekend prices. This is something I do use a lot. And I say, you know what? I want to put a minimum price for my weekend days. I don't want my weekends to be booked nowhere below, let's say, 145. Or depending on your property, you can say, I don't want anyone to book below 350 or $1,100 for the weekends. A minimum far pricing here. Another thing you can customize. You can say, you know what? I want after the next 90 days, for example, I want my prices to have a minimum fixed price of, let's say, 120 on the weekdays and 200 on the weekends. Or you can put a percentage again based on how you want to customize. But you can see here how you can really craft a pricing strategy into the details based on what you think is going to do better for your property. For some of you, maybe some of these things are not going to be useful. For some of you, they're going to be really useful. Some advanced customization, really details. You have here what I consider your weekend days. Like a fun fact, if you're flying from Europe to Hawaii, the airline considers that a Wednesday and Thursday is a weekend. So that really depends on, thinking, when are normally people trying to arrive to my property? Are they taking maybe the Thursday off and they're arriving on Thursday? Or is Sunday considered a weekend? Are they staying overnight on Sunday and normally checking out on a Monday? So that way Pricelabs can actually craft the prices considering what is a weekend and a weekday. Demand factor aggressiveness, again, we're getting into how do you want to perform based on the demand in your market? Do you want to be conservative? Do you want us to recommend what we think is best? Or do you want to be aggressive? Again, this is not occupancy, this is demand. So remember I talked about last man standing. If you want to be aggressive, that's going to mean that we're going to try to wait for the demand. If there's high demand, we're going to wait to get the highest prices possible. So we're going to be aggressive. If you want to be conservative, it's like, I don't want you to really look into the demand going up and raise the prices a lot to try to get the last people booking, because I don't want to take that risk. Pricing offset is, do you want to change a percentage at the end of all the price that your system created in Pricelabs? Do you want to offset a percentage of your cost of acquisition, for example? What is the cost of acquisition? Is the cost of renting on Airbnb at 3%, right? Airbnb is going to charge you a 3% fee, their service fee. So you can say, yeah, you know what? Add a 3% on my prices to offset that percentage. Adjacent factor, sorry. So for the adjacent factor, I want to show you something really quick on a calendar here. This is a property that I have. So if you think about it, this Friday, how many people can book this Friday? It's only going to be people looking to book starting on Friday. If I tell you about this Friday, which is May the 5th, how many people can book this Friday? It can be booked by someone starting this date, this date, this date, this date, this date, right? So the combination of bookings that can be made with that day on the 5th are very large. The combination of bookings I can do, I can sell the 28th of April, it's really small, because it has to be only someone that can only check in on the 28th. If even it's going to be even shorter if someone is checking in on the 1st of May, because if you look at that, then we have only someone that can book for the Friday and Saturday, or Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, or Friday. So it's really small combination. So that adjacency, I can say, because it's reducing the amount of chances I have to book this date, I want to lower my prices on Pricelabs. So I can say any bookings within 1 or 2 days of a booking, I want you to put a discount of 20%, for example, because I know I prefer to have someone booking immediately after someone is checking out. Or you can say, you know what, I prefer having a day in the middle. So if you're booking exactly after someone's checking out, I have to rush my cleaning. It's a large property, pay a premium. And finally, rounding and smoothing. This is for the people with ODD that likes to see the same numbers like me. You can say, okay, I want all the numbers to be rounded to 1 digit, 2 digits, whatever you want. And smoothing is basically saying, okay, if we're gonna find a common price for the entire week and don't have I don't know, 130 on one day, 127 on a day, and 125 on a day, we're gonna put the same price for the entire week. That being said, that took me an entire hour. That's how you customize prices on Pricelabs. What questions do you have? Because I am assuming that some people need to jump out of here, maybe from the call, before we move to the market dashboards.
If you have any questions, throw them in the chat. I have been absorbing all of this. Pricing has been such an area of like, I just go so deep on the design and like the property itself that when it comes to pricing, I'm just like spent.
I know. It's very interesting for me, pricing. I always loved it. When I was in the airline industry, I was a nerd for the price rules and understanding how airlines price their tickets.
Yeah.
And if you guys do have to jump off, throw your question in the chat just before you jump off anyways, because this is recorded and we will send it to you. So your question can still get answered and then you'll just be able to watch it back.
Yeah. One question. Oh, well, I'll ask this question before I ask mine. We just had one thrown in here. Do you turn off all other pricing features, discounts, etc. on Airbnb or VRBO when you connect Pricelabs?
Such a good question. I normally do a mixed strategy. So I do use a lot of length of stay discounts on Airbnb. So actually, if you look at my calendar here, and I'm not showing my screen, give me a second. I'm gonna show really quick. But basically, for example, I come here and I have a ton of rule sets here that I use. I can say, for example, tonight must go. It's called Sean because it's based on, if you hear about him, he has some great tips on pricing. He inspired me on this. And what I do here, for example, is like, if it's last minute, I want this night to go, I'm gonna add like a lot of deep discounts for length of stay. So basically for 2 nights, it's gonna add a 35% discount, 45 for 3 nights. So the longer you stay, the deeper is gonna be the discount. And we can do another webinar on this, Sarah, because I love it. Emily, Sarah, if you think that something is gonna give value, it's really cool. But that'll be for the future. But yeah, to make it short, I do combine them, but I make sure that at the end of the day, I'm not providing additional discount that I don't want to provide and end up with a cheap booking.
That makes sense. Yeah, because there definitely is. Someone said, Federico, do you offer one-on-one consultations?
I'll start, yeah. That's something I was discussing these days. I will start doing a one-on-one consultation. So I'll share the data, the information with the girls.
What another question is, what listing health percentage do you aim for? How do you know if you need to make adjustments?
Oh, that's a great question. So I normally look, we're going to jump into the market dashboard in a moment, and we're going to look to understand how your market usually is booked. Like what's the booking window for your market? So if your market is normally, so people normally book 20 days in advance, you want to see that in the next 20 days, you are pretty well booked, at least at market levels. If you're above, that's going to be better. Unless, again, you are on purpose trying to be booked below market average.
Yeah, and I think there's something to be said too. I mean, like for us, for example, if we launch a property in the summer and the window for booking the summer is like 6 months in advance, then you have to ignore that window because you're launching it in the middle of it, right? You don't have that luxury of like having it available and ready 6 months in advance. So you have to take that into account as well. But really, I think, at least for us, we always say that we have to be pretty plugged into our pricing for the first year to, one, get the listing up and running well, but then two, to be cognizant of the fact that we want to get it kind of stabilized for next year.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. There's a couple more questions in here. When you set a discount on Pricelabs, does it show that discount in Airbnb? Like original price 200, discounted 150?
No, that's a great question. It does not. It should set up the price at that level. So basically, the discount you're doing is for Pricelabs to come up to the final price for that night. And the only problem with that is that, if you add discounts on Airbnb, you're going to get more SEO bumps. So maybe you want to do those discounts straight on Airbnb.
Yeah, that's what we do in ours is we have the last minute discounts set in Airbnb and we don't set them on Pricelabs, but then we set everything else on Pricelabs. And then one more question for you. Would you recommend finding a calendar of special events, concerts, conferences in your area and manually configure future dates, or does Pricelabs do that and that's how they know to raise the pricing?
That's a great question, and I think they have some data, but at the end of the day, they're looking at how the market is being booked. So if you have a really cool property and there's a new event, you may be the first one to be booked, and then the rest of the people are going to find out through you that there was an event, right? And you don't want to be that first person. So that's why you want to be priced higher, far out, especially. Like, I'm going to give you an example. There was I have it in Dallas here. I got a booking for 2024. As soon as I saw 2024, I said, this can't be good. It turns out there's going to be a solar eclipse next year, and it's going to pass through Dallas. And probably people are going to pay really good bucks to come here to see the solar eclipse. And that property got booked at a lower rate. I had more properties in the building. I went right at the moment, raised all my prices, and told everyone, hey, be on the look because this is gonna happen. What I do, I can give you a few tips. Go to Ticketmaster and set up notifications whenever there's a new concert or something like that. If you're in a city, you want to know. Pay attention to sports if your team made it to the playoffs. And then, yeah, I'll say if you're close to any type of Congress venue, something like that, try to find Facebook pages and things like that that they're gonna give you information on the Congress is coming, because you never know. I mean, sometimes like it's the Congress or the people who manufacture the little piece that goes inside something else and brings 1,000 people into the town, and you never have it. So
yeah, that's and I mean, some of it you'll miss, right? It's impossible to catch every single thing. That's kind of the I think last week on Tip Tuesday, someone was like, how important is it to have Pricelabs? And I'm like, it's doing the work of like 50 people, and still there may be occasions where you miss out on a few dollars, but you're making way more than you would if it was just you trying to like track all of these surges.
Oh yeah. And that's where the far out really helps, because again, if you're far out, you put it very high, you're not going to be the first option to go if something comes to town. And then Pricelabs is going to understand what's going on in the market far out. And when it comes to the time that you actually want to be booked, your booking window 30 days, 90 days, you're priced right.
That makes sense. Perfect. Well, let's keep going. I mean, we're in no rush. So if you guys have to jump off, no issues. This will be recorded and we'll post it on YouTube afterward. But I am here for all the tips. This is definitely the one I needed the most.
Let me text my wife, because we have something I can push for later. I just want to let her know there's nothing a little while and later.
Sorry, Carol.
Yeah. All right. So I'm glad this is bringing value for you all. So we're gonna talk a little bit about the market dashboards, which is a tool I really love. I know you are using AirDNA, which is great. But the cool thing about market dashboards, you can really get into the details of a market. So basically, if you come here to market dashboards, this tab over here, just want to open here. What you're doing is you're buying the data of your area for $9.99 a month. Okay, that's what you're doing here. And how you set it up, you say, okay, I'm gonna create a dashboard. I'm gonna put your address. So I'm gonna put here the address that I'm choosing. So you put your zip, or your country, USA, and the radius is in kilometers, which is great for me. I'm from Argentina. The rest of the world use kilometers. I'm still learning miles and Fahrenheit and all of that. But basically, if you do, you go to Google and you say 1 mile to kilometer is gonna be 1.61. So let's say we want to do half a mile, you do 0.8.
We talked earlier on the UDOT.
We have a mic open just in case. And the next step is gonna tell you, okay, is this your actual location? Looks good. Let's continue. And then you're gonna put the name. So I'm gonna call this Jennings price. I was gonna tell you, okay, the number of listings based on your radius and the price. But the cool thing is that you can adjust the radius later. So I can say, okay, give me more data, give me more properties in the area, so you can adjust that, and it doesn't have an extra cost. Once you have your market dashboard active, it takes a few minutes, just a few minutes, until you can see here, show dashboard. You can check when you want to have an email update. I get it sent on Tuesdays. But once you click here, show dashboard, it's gonna get into it's gonna give you this data. So it's gonna give you your market KPIs. What is a KPI? Key performance indicators. It's like AirDNA, as I told you. And something I want you to keep in mind when we're talking about revenue, it's a very common question. Are we talking about with cleaning fees, no cleaning fees, after this, after that? So revenue is basically, it's gonna consider the nightly price that a property was showing when it got booked. It's not counting cleaning fees, it's not counting extra guest fees, it's not counting pet fee, early check-in, late checkout, Airbnb, 3%. It's just telling you the numbers based on the nightly price it was published when it got booked. What's the useful information you're gonna find here? Occupancy by day of the week, revenue and occupancy by month, fees and cancel policies other operators are using in your area, your booking window, your ADR, which is your average daily rate in your area, the median LOS, which is your average length of stay, how long are people staying on average in your market. So here it is, all right? Now, the first thing I want you to pay attention is upper left side of my screen. Here you're gonna have a comp set, which is telling you, okay, where are we pulling the data that we're showing you? We're pulling the data from Airbnb, the whole market. So all the properties that are on Airbnb in your market on that radius here of 0.8 kilometers or half a mile. These are all the properties that we're selecting, and this is how we came up for this data for the last year. You can say, you know what, this is very nice, but I don't care how a property for 8 bedrooms is doing because I have a 1-bedroom apartment. So I'm gonna change this here. And now you're gonna see that the numbers are gonna change. Now you can select the KPIs to be for the last year, month, or week. And again, it's telling me, okay, for the properties that you're seeing here, the estimated revenue of the last year was $20,000. The average RevPAR here means revenue per available rental, not room, which is a term used in hotels. So the average revenue per rental is $56. The average occupancy in your market, it was 58%. And the average daily rate was $100, right? There are 143 listings, 4,680 bookings, and people normally here are booking within 18 days for a length of stay of 2 nights. See? If we look at other market, I'm sure it's gonna be a different information. I'm sure if we look at the lake houses in Michigan, it's gonna be something totally different, not only of the revenue, but how far in advance people are booking, how long people are staying. And this is what's going to help you to determine your last minute booking, discounts, your file pricing. So this is all the information you want to start digesting to create your pricing strategy. Another cool thing is that here you can see on the map the listings, and you can actually click on the listings and they're going to pull up on Airbnb. So you can see the listings that you have around yourself. And here you're going to have all the listings again. And here you can create curated listings that you want to be compared to the comp sets. I'm going to do that in a second. It's the coolest thing. This is what I love about Pricelabs, because you can actually curate your the properties that you're being compared to. And so I'm going to stop sharing for a moment. I'm going to look at the screen and tell you why I love this. When you're pulling data from AirDNA, the market dashboard, whatever it is, your listings are not being curated, which means you don't know if you're being compared to a property that is luxury. If it's not professionally managed, you don't know if it's a 30-day plus stay, you don't minimum stay, you don't know how it's designed. There are a lot of things you don't know. And I'm gonna give you the example of Houston. When I started looking in Houston for townhomes where I have some, I noticed that some of the data was still pulling data from properties that were open during the Super Bowl a few years back, where the host, people that own a house, they say, okay, I'm gonna put my house on Airbnb for a few $1,000s a weekend. But they never shut down the listing. They just blocked the calendar, but the listing still exists. So the data you were getting were for properties that were never rented in the last couple of years. So by actually creating your comp sets, you can get way more accurate data. So that's why I actually love it. I'm gonna show you some comp sets in a moment. But let's look in the data again for the market in general. You have your average revenue, and you can see what are the best months and the worst months. You can see your average daily rate for the entire year. What is occupancy throughout the year? Median booking window. So this is, remember, the pacing. So you can say, okay, for October, people are booking 34 days in advance on average. And your length of stay. You can see here, for example, in January, people usually stay for longer than September, which is short stays. And this can help you create your seasonality rules in your dynamic pricing, right? Here it's telling you, okay, how many properties you're being compared to. So are you compared to 1 bedroom, 97 listings, and more specific data on those listings. I'm gonna skip the future data for now. I don't want to get too deep into that, but I want to show you something else. Day of the week occupancy. Remember, I told you some markets struggle usually on the Tuesdays, but Thursdays do pretty well. This can help you to determine, okay, maybe I need to bump my Thursdays and lower my Tuesdays. And then we have length of stay. So are people here booking for how long on average? And then we're getting a lot of bookings of 1 to 2 months. Why in this market that I'm showing you? Because I'm surrounded by hospitals. So we have a lot of people coming for treatments and traveling nurses. So you can see that the average length of stay, we have a lot of people booking from 3 to 4 nights. We have a bunch of 7 to 14, and we have a lot of 29 plus. So if you're thinking, I'm on a market that maybe the HOA doesn't let me do short-term rentals or may change in the future, I know I have a pivot strategy and I can do midterm rentals, and there's a market for me in this area. The amenities don't pay attention because, I mean, this is uncurated data. Of course, people want to book a place with Wi-Fi, and of course, most of the people are offering a place with Wi-Fi, right? But if you keep scrolling, another cool thing is you're gonna see if people are using weekly and monthly discounts. You're gonna see what is the average cleaning fee, this is gonna set you on a competitive point. You may say, you know what, in my market, people are booking places most of the time with $31 to $45 on cleaning fee. That's where I wanna be. The cancellation policies that they're using, the amount of guests are they allowing to sleep, and maybe you can say here, I can be more competitive if most of the people are allowing 2 guests, and I can put 3 or 4 on this type of property, and if they're charging extra personal fees or not. Again, the data itself, by standing alone, it won't tell you anything. You want to put it into context to come up to something. But this is how you can analyze a market using the market dashboards, and we're going to move into, again, my favorite part, which is creating a comp set. How you can create a list of properties that are comparable to yours. And here are some ideas. You may want to create one for people in the same building. You may recognize listings in the same building as yours. There are operators, and you want to see how they're doing. You want to just compare to properties with a pool and a hot tub because it's something you're offering, and that's what's going to bring actual valuable information for you. I want to see properties that are pet friendly. I want to see properties that are only doing midterm rentals, 30-day plus. I want an exact match on number of bedrooms, bathrooms, and guests, because only 1 bedroom is not telling you anything if I have more baths or if I have more guests in my property. I want to compare to king bed. I want to compare to professionally designed. Now, for this, you're going to have to do a work where you're going to have to actually go to maybe AirDNA, not just clicking on the properties in market dashboard, or actually going to Airbnb and doing some researches to actually find some of the properties. So when you find a property that is going to be a competition of yours or you want to compare to, always save the tag. So if you see the URL, you're going to see airbnb.com/rooms/ a number. That number is what identifies a property on Airbnb, and that's what you're going to be using on your comp sets. For example, I have a property with a pool that I manage in ULS near the DFW airport. I pull all the properties with a pool in the area, and I was looking at the bedrooms and bathrooms, how many guests they allow, the listing tag, the listing, and some notes. You can see a lot of bad pics, bad design, or things like that. So there are not many professional people operating over there. But with this, I can create different comp sets to compare to these properties and see how we're performing and what are we doing better or not, and what do we need to adjust. So I'm going to show you some examples just by using data from the market dashboard, and then we're going to show you how to bring those listings. Let's say I want to compare exactly short-term rental properties they have more than 4.5 stars on the rating. They have more than 10 reviews and a minimum stay below 7 days, because that's what I want to be compared to. Here, I'm going to have my available listings that all the listings are being compared to, again, based on the selection that I made. But I want to say, you know what? Again, I want you to give me properties that have 4.5 star reviews or higher, because I know that my property is going to do better than that. I don't want to be compared to bad units. Sorry, I almost cussed. Reviews. I want to see people that's been here for a while, so I want to see people that have more than 10 reviews. And I want to see people that the minimum stay is 7 days or lower. For example, this 14-day minimum stay or 30-day minimum stay, it doesn't work for me for what I'm looking. See? So now I narrowed my search to this. So if I come here to create a comp set, so I need to put it again. So give me 1 second. Over on. So here, reviews, So here I have these properties. Oh, I want to be 1 bedroom. All right, so 1 bedroom, not 2, not studios. I can create here and generate concept, and it's gonna create. I need to put a name, so I can put exact match or professionally managed 1 bedrooms. And my bad, I need to select all listings. Select all. I'm sorry, I'm by rushing, I'm making mistakes, so I'm gonna go slower. But you want to select all the listings that came up from this filter that you used. It's telling me you have 61 listings that are an exact match to what you want to be compared. But you can call this 1 bedroom professionals and create the concept. I want to create it. And now that it's been created, it's going to show up here at the top. So 1 bedroom pro. And I can start looking at the data for these particular listings and see if the KPIs are different, if the length of stay is different. And here you can see, let's take a look at the revenue. But we're expecting here the information to be different because it's curated for other purposes. So you can see that the revenue is a little bit higher. The number of bookings is different. So okay, we have new data. Can I create other concepts? New properties in the area. If this is a new property for you, you may want to say, I don't want to put a star rating, but I want to put less than 10 reviews, and that it's been active less than 100 days in the market, and that the minimum stay is 7 nights. So here I have, if I select all, I have to compare with me other properties. 5 properties are new, and they're being created in the last 2 months in the market. So I can follow and track their performance and see how they're doing and what I'm doing different. Another concept. If you're in a market, again, that you want to test the waters or track or have an idea how they're doing for midterm rentals, you can say, hey, you know what? I want to see all the properties are doing a minimum stay of 30 days. This doesn't mean that all properties, they may allow 1 night and still do midterm rentals, but this is going to help you to understand the properties are only doing midterm rentals. So here I have it. So properties, I put 28 nights or more for minimum stay. And I have a bunch of properties that are only doing midterm rentals. And this can help me to pivot if for any reason I can't continue doing short-term rentals in my market.
So
now I have, oh, sorry.
I have one question for you on this. With, I mean, you pay $10, right? Like to get all of that data for any given area. And then you can pull all of this at any point in time for the rest of forever for that $10, right? Like you get all access to all of this going forward.
10 months a month. $10 a month. Yeah,
Oh,
you pay monthly. Yeah.
That's
I mean,
incredible.
it's pretty cheap, I'll say, for the data on your market.
In comparison to AirDNA, I mean, we split it with someone and it's like $375 a month for unlimited access, you know, which is obviously a lot more, but especially if you know what markets you're in, this makes a lot more sense.
It does. This is pretty useful.
Incredible.
What I'm gonna show you now is something that I think you all should be doing. You want to go to Airbnb, right? And you want to start pulling the actual properties that you know that are your competition, right? Not just this generic, because again, here in all the filters that I did, I don't know if they have a pool, if they have a king bed. I don't know who's managing. I don't know anything. I'm just pulling data and trying to filter a little bit on what it works. If you pull the tags, as I mentioned, from the listings, you can come here and say, you know what? I'm going to create a new concept. I'm just going to delete all the filters. I'm going to start looking for properties. So listing ID, I can search here. And this property I already know is a property in the same building where I am. And I can select it. And I can find these other properties that are also in the same building. If the tag is too long, you may want to remove some numbers and it's going to show still. So that may happen. And now I have, okay, this one's not showing up. No, actually, this one is the same from distance. But here I have 2 properties are in the same building. This is very valuable data, right? You can do same blocks, same zip code, whatever you want, but I think this is gonna be really helpful. Especially if you're in condos, apartments, and stuff like that. So again, I can come here and pull up the midterm rentals and see how they're doing. I can pull up the same building and see how they're doing. And this will give you more curated data to understand your competition and make more well-thought decisions on your pricing. All right. What I'm gonna do now is show you how you can bring this data into your dynamic pricing screen. So how do we pull it? I'm gonna show you something pretty cool. I'm gonna go back here and I'm gonna go to this neighborhood data. So basically, I mentioned at the beginning, Pricelabs is pulling data from many OTAs, many PMS, and even hotels here. I'm not gonna get deep into analyzing hotel data, but this is if you're asking about the events, if you're asking how can I know if there's an event coming, you can't really tell so easily, but I can go here to the graph and kind of like pinpoint dates where they already raised prices and say, hey, there's something definitely going on in some days here, right? Like here in October, I know that these dates, they probably know because they already have a revenue management department in their business. So you can actually, with this, use their data. Now the neighborhood data, for this, you don't need to purchase a market dashboard, but it's kind of doing that process of looking at your neighborhood and filtering the data and giving you some useful information. It's going to tell you future prices. Again, here you can see there's something going on in September, October. It's telling you what is your occupancy in the next month. And I can see again, September 22nd, there's something going on, absolutely something going on because you can see that spike on the occupancy. What is the minimum stay for most of the people? So you can see here that far out people are having higher minimum stays in your market. But again, it's comparing you to over here, almost 300 listings. And this is not useful for me because it's a lot of listings and many people here are not my competition. But here's the really cool part. I can come here and say, don't just compare to nearby listings, go to the market dashboard, and even better, go to my concept and just show me the data for the concepts that I've been creating today. Show me the data for the properties with a pool. Show me the data with the properties that are professional. Show me the data for the properties in the same building, whatever you want. So I'm gonna go here to same building. I'm gonna put apply. And although the data here is not so great for future prices and stuff like that, because probably the other two people in my building, they don't know how the future is gonna look like, and probably they don't know if there's an event coming. This is what I like. If you come here to the bottom and you say compare competitor calendar, get calendar, you can actually see their prices on the calendar. I think this is gold.
What? What?
So you can come here and say, okay, what are the prices for this day or that day or this day? I know I left it for the end because we had to do the whole process to get to this point. But this is guys, this is amazing. So. And you can actually pick the listings again using the tags. So even you can do this even not having the market dashboard. So if you don't want to pay the $10, you can still go to nearby listings, and you can come here. And if you know the tags, you can come here to the picker and start copying the numbers here and put in, and you can pick up all the listings in the market. So again, you don't even have to pay if you already know which properties you found them on Airbnb, on Airbnb, wherever you found them. You can still pull them to the screen, not having to pay for the market dashboard.
That's incredible because, like, for us in these more remote markets, I mean, we've got like 3 competitors. You know, it's like very easy for us to understand who our top competition is. So to be able to like spy on their daily pricing with a click of a button. Crazy. Why is no one talking about that?
I know, it's just great. So is it okay if I do the closing? I have just a little bit more to share with you, just because I go to some questions.
Yep.
So, okay, I already showed you how to use the neighborhood data. I want to talk a little bit about the mindset because I think it's very important that you're working with revenue management, you're working with pricing. You got to have a mindset and a purpose when you're doing this. So this is gonna be very short. But number 1, sailing the waters. You need to think that you're sailing here and you set a trajectory. So you're setting your data, your price rules, your customizations, but you need to adjust as the conditions are changing, right? So you need to go back and look how it's performing. Can you set up, can you put a base price and let it run itself? Yes, you can. Are you gonna get the best results? Probably not, as if you are going back and changing and adjusting constantly. So it doesn't have to be every day. That's the cool thing about Pricelabs. But I will say maybe once a month, if you want, you want to go back and see how things are doing. A concept from microeconomics that you want to keep in mind is the cost of opportunity or opportunity cost. When you're setting up your minimum stay, when you're setting up your fire prices, opportunity cost is loss of potential gain from other alternatives when one alternative is chosen, right? So every choice comes at the cost of another. Accepting a 2-night stay 3 months ahead may cost you landing a 15-day booking. Pricing the property too high may cost you an empty calendar in the future. So that's the cost of opportunity. Whatever you decide here to price your property, you got to understand there's going to be a side cost of what the potential gain that you're not getting as an outcome. Survivorship bias, and the reason why I have this plane is because of the one story that I'm going to tell really quick. But this is a fallacy, is the logical error of concentrating on the data that survived a particular selection process, while overlooking those that did not, due to lack of visibility. Really quick, on the Second World War, when the planes were coming back from missions, usually dropping bombs on the Axis territory, they will come back, and engineers will look at the planes that survived the mission, and they'll say, okay, they have a lot of bullets, holes on the wings, we need to shield better that area, right? But then another engineer say, hey, you know what? Actually, if they came back with the holes, it means that they can survive being hit in those areas. We need to look at where they're not being hit, because that's probably where the planes that didn't make it back were being hit, right? So how does this relate to pricing and revenue management? Basically, when you're analyzing only successful properties and not the ones that fail, you're only focusing on those available properties. You don't know what happened with the other ones. You're missing some data to make decisions. Or if you're going to Airbnb and you're searching for the weekend of 4th of July to see who's available and copy their prices, you're actually not looking at those who already got booked that may be the most successful properties. So you want to understand every time you're doing a research like the market dashboard, what data am I leaving out and may be useful for my analysis. Game theory. So this is math that are applying to multiple fields like economics and socioeconomics and multiple things. But basically, game theory is the study of strategic decision making in situations where the outcome depends on the actions of multiple actors. Why is this guy talking about this thing on pricing? Well, basically, you need to think that when you're doing dynamic pricing, you are setting your prices based not only on your property and what your property could do, or because your property is beautiful. You need to always keep in mind there's a lot of actors around yourself, which are your competition, which is not only other Airbnbs and VRBOs, short-term rentals, you also have hotels. I need to really understand that other people are also setting up their pricing strategies to beat you, right? So yeah, that's what I had. Now I'm open for question and answers. I hope this was useful. So you let me know what we have in the chat.
I was gonna say that was incredibly useful. Holy cow. I definitely feel like, you know, especially in my pricing this year, as we've launched a couple more properties, I'm like forgetting what we priced our property at when we first launched our first property. And I priced it based on the prices that we're seeing in year 2 and not in year 1. And there's such a ramp up phase with Airbnb where, you know, Airbnb right when you launch is comparing your property versus the properties that are still available to book. They're adjacent to yours. And so it doesn't matter if you know yours is better than theirs. It's like you've got to be competitive with those properties in particular. So I struggle with pricing more than anything else in my business, just because it is such an intricate thing to get involved in and to understand how to price it, because the data is there, the data is available, but it's really up to you to kind of like parse through all of that data and develop something that is perfectly catered to your property. So, and I will say, especially since we've launched this mentorship, it's just, if there's one thing that's become even more obvious to me, it's how awful most management companies are, because most management companies are not willing to go into this amount of depth to understand how to make a property successful. And I would say that, you know, aside from your design, amenities, and where you're selecting a property, this is the tool that's going to make the biggest impact in your overall ROI, because it's the price point, right? It's literally the dollar sign that you're associating with your property. So a lot of people leave it out, and it's just something that like you have to be in tune with. There is no like immediate set it and forget it. There are all of these little nitty gritty minutiae details that matter. Do any of you guys have any questions as we wrap up here?
There are two questions in the chat that were sent a little bit ago, so I can read those if you want.
Perfect. Let's go for it.
Okay, so if a majority of bookings are made within 18 days, do you set discounts as you get closer to that mark, or raise prices, or do you just let Pricelabs tell you?
So if the majority of they come within 18 days, I'll actually raise the prices, or not offer discounts within that range, because that's when people are actually gonna go. And basically, this is how you gotta think about it. It's like 18 days before that date, people are sitting down on the computers and start looking for places in that area. So I'll keep it there, or actually raise it a little bit.
Perfect. And then do you have any tips or tricks to configure pricing if you have 10 units that are all in the same building, which are almost identical?
Yeah, actually you have certain bulk edits that you can do, customization. So for that, I'll tell you, start exploring this section here, customizations, and here you can create groups. And you can say, okay, building, whatever is called the building, here in groups, and you want to make sure that so you can say building A, and here you can start creating some specific customizations that are gonna be applied to the entire 10 properties. Now here's one thing I can tell you: having 10 properties in one place actually is a very lucky thing, because you can do A/B testing. So I'll say do 5 properties this way, 5 properties the other way, and see what works best. That's what I do where I have more than one property.
Yeah, absolutely. We, for those of you guys that are unfamiliar with the properties that we have in Fort Worth, we have 2 properties still in Fort Worth that Federico manages. One is mine, one is my parents. And every single month when we get our numbers from Federico, we'll always give each other a hard time of whoever's property does better. So there's always a joke going between me and my parents on who has to throw a bone to Federico this month. But it is nice having that data to kind of do that A/B testing on. So, yeah. Well, for those of you who are unfamiliar with Federico, you can follow him and his business partner, Steven, at Argest Rentals on Instagram. And if you guys are looking to outsource that management, again, a lot of management companies will cost you, right? And you're like, okay, if I hire this out, I'm going to be losing money because nobody's going to care about my property as much as I do. Federico and Steven are not in that group. So if this lesson today showed you that, look, this is not something that I want to handle myself, but I see the value in it and I want someone to apply all of these to my properties, what I would say is that they are a management company that more than pays for themselves. So when you look at what percentage a management company takes, you should always be seeing if that management company is making more than that and they pay for themselves. And so my specialty is design, not in pricing, right? So I outsource it to someone who's an expert at pricing, which would be them. So if you guys are looking for management, highly, highly recommend them. And then we'll see if he eventually offers some one-on-one consultations if you decide you want to manage it yourself, but you want to pick his brain a little bit more than what we got here.
I'm definitely going to work on that this week.
Yeah, you definitely can make a difference in people's lives. Or if you offered a service that just was like, let's have a meeting where we set up your pricing strategy as you guys launch. I think that that's a huge gap in the market that definitely could be tapped into. So
yeah.
Well,
and if I can share really quick, I had a client that she's strong with a property and she wants to give it for me to management, but she's not making any and doesn't have any bookings. I say, okay, as long as you don't hand it to me, you're not gonna get any bookings. So I say, give it to me for a week. I'll make some stuff happen. Bookings. So we try to make the difference.
Yeah, definitely. And pricing, I mean, really, if you're not getting bookings, odds are it's a pricing issue. I've learned that lesson a few times in the last couple of months, even with Orange Cadillac, where I know where it should be priced, but it can't be priced there year one. And so your calendar will tell you that. If you're not getting bookings, pricing is probably the first thing that I would take a look at. So, well, thank you, Federico. This has been incredibly informative. I needed this a lot. And thank you everyone for jumping on. This will be uploaded to YouTube in the next 24 hours. And Emily will email it to all of you, so you will have that recording in your inbox shortly. We'll include all of Federico and Steven's handles so you can follow them on socials. And yeah, that's all we've got today.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, and we'll catch y'all next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.